Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to We Are Back Hot Off the Press. And I had I don't know, maybe about a 2 week hiatus as I think between one, I was traveling, I did, and our guest today, Eean Ovens, I saw him at Digital Unfiltered. And so that was over in Vegas. And so I was traveling one day, it wasn't going to be the make. And then last week, I really was just kind of coming back into, and it was like, wow, kind of crazy. So anyway, thanks for joining us, being back online. I'm just going to go ahead and pop Eean in here right now and get him live. Let's pop this thing down. There he is.
Hello. How's it going?
The bearded wonder. And dude, I dig. I see you're out there, and you have got the most colorful and kind of crazy clothes you got rolling.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been I don't know, kind of going through a renaissance of weird shit. So yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. The other stuff that I've seen, man, you've been out traveling as well, it seems like, huh?
Yeah, this last year, so there's a whole story behind all that, because the software at one point was not doing what it needed to do. And so last year we went through a period where we really revamped a lot. And then starting with Rockstars last October, our reputation really turned around all of a sudden. And then we were selling a lot of software. Then I was traveling a lot to a lot of conferences because it was worth going to conferences for it. So yeah, this year's been big on travel.
I know.
So got quite a few.
I know. I just saw you like posting around on the socials, images. Hey, here I am, and wherever, like, wow, look at you go, man. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I remember. So we were at Rockstars together last year. I think that was in Dallas last year, if I recall. Yes. By the way, hey, yes. James, good to see you. Thanks for joining on us today. And I remember we went, so not to take away from anything going on, that was a great conference, but we had an unbelievable steak dinner that went, oh my gosh, I can't remember exactly where that was, but that was fabulous. I do have pictures though of the great it was a great steak, but we had ordered some seafood kind of
the
troubadour, that was it.
Oh yeah that was a highlight. I brought that back, and I gave the leftovers to Chris Palmer, and he was thrilled.
Oh, so good. So fun.
Yeah. It was the gift that kept on giving.
All right. And so what do I think? I think I've seen, so I just saw you at Digital Unfiltered. We were there in Vegas, really like 2 weeks ago. It seems like it was just the other day. So I saw you there. I think I see you scheduled. You're going back out to Rockstars. I think that's in Boston next month in October. And I just saw one of my all-time favorite conferences, SEO Spring Training with Terry Samuels. And by the way, Team Samuels. Hey, Skylar, morning, y'all, man. Good to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Samuels team, putting on SEO Spring Training. I think I saw you listed as a speaker presenter for that conference. Anything else coming up?
So SEO Mastery Summit will be at in April.
Oh, that's the one. Is that Mad Singers? Is that right?
Yep. And then Kirk. I'm trying to remember Kirk's last name.
Are you going all the way to Vietnam for that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But this month I'm going to the Philippines for World of Search.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. So I leave in a couple weeks for that. I mean, honestly, I just talked to Craig Campbell about some European stops, which those should start December or January as well.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun. It's really, I mean, I've never traveled before. Here I was pushing 40, and I had always wanted to be a traveler, and I was like, maybe once my kid's out of high school, but then, now it's necessary for the job. So I feel very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good for you. All right. Well, good for you. All right. So I'm going to remind folks, hey, if you have questions for Eean as we get rolling, drop them into the chat, and we'll hit on some stuff. We've got, obviously, we're going to talk about Agency Assassin and CTR, all of that kind of activity. So if you have some specific questions on CTR, Eean is our resident expert right now. So hit him up. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share, all of that fun stuff. I always got to remember to throw that stuff out there. All right. So Eean, talk to me, man, about your background. So how did you get into this crazy game of SEO and ranking? Hey, Terry, man, good morning. Good to see you. By the way, Terry, I just plugged SEO Spring Training 24 for you. You just missed it, but I gave a shout out to you and Team Samuel. So good to have you on board, buddy. So how did you get into it, Eean? What's up?
So I got started in SEO. I mean, my first exposure, I was an operations manager for a roofing company. And I had the CEO was like, hey, meet with this guy. And this guy came in and made a proposal for SEO, and I looked at what he was doing and what he was charging for content, and I was like, oh, I could do that. I took this guy's report and I saved it. And it had SEO Power Suite on it. A couple years later, I was a business partner at a printing company that I still own part of. And we had a lead come in for a guy who wanted a website in SEO, which I'd never done before on my own. But I went out and pitched it, and I sold the account. And I came back, and I found that report, and I downloaded the software, SEO Power Suite. And then I Googled how to do SEO. And this was 2011. I used comment links. And I took this guy to #1 for Denver dispensary, Colorado dispensary, everywhere. Wow. I underbilled this guy so much. I could only respect the gap that I had in my knowledge of value. In that retrospect, I was charging him $1,500 a month, and he was probably making 5 figures a month off of the SEO. and I barely kept him every month. I had to convince him every month to stay on. Yeah, and so from there, I was really lucky. I went to so my story on owning software has to do with being kind of a loudmouth and just kind of being willing to like show up and probably be wrong. I showed up to a small, a kind of large local meetup for SEO. That was White Hat versus Black Hat in like 2012, I want to say. And Garrett Acott and Cade Lee were on a panel with, I can't remember the White Hat agency owners' names. They're not really, it's not really my crowd.
Whoa, wait. You're going to tell me Garrett Alcott was at a White Hat SEO conference?
White Hat versus Black Hat.
Oh, White Hat versus Black Hat. Because I was like, really? Garrett? That would
be. Cade Lee and Garrett were the Black Hat side. And, they were just talking about some stuff that works, and I was like, I know that I was like, oh, come on, that doesn't really work, does it? And that was my response back, because I was like giving it back to Garrett and Cade, and like whatever, not knowing anything. But I ended up making friends with them. I ended up paying Cade to show me how to use GSA SER there shortly thereafter, and then a couple years later, I went to a search conference. Then I ended up having an experiment with it. So Garrett's really helped me out. He's been a great guy. He helped me out a number of times. And so I found a penalty that Google was doing in 2018. And this was a fairly short, like this specific penalty was only this powerful for maybe 12 months, maybe a little bit less. Whenever Google creates one of these, they seem to figure it out pretty soon, because as soon as SEOs get their hands on it, they do horrible things. So I found there was a image referrer penalty that was really targeting the porn industry, but I found it by just annihilating a customer over 2 days. I took a customer from number one for probably 20 terms to like absolutely off of search, like completely gone and unfindable. And it was this short period of time where if you used referred images in bulk, it was an accumulating penalty. So it was like, meant to dissuade you from stealing images to SEO your site. And I shared it with Garrett, and Garrett turned it into a way more mean strategy than I had. And he had the opportunity to share at SearchCon, which I had been to SearchCon the year before, and I asked him if I could introduce him for his keynote speaking. So I got co-keynote my second conference, and that is what got me into, like, with Holly and with everybody else on the inside of the people who are making software and doing research, because I was doing research just by being bad at what I did and noticing, but it gave me.
I love how humble you are. Yeah, I was shocked at it.
Yeah, so that was it. That jumped me in. I ended up getting into some CTR software through that connection. I bought in with Holly, and that ended up being unsupported, and that's how we got started on our software.
Good for you.
So, yeah.
Good for you. And there we roll. Yeah, some very interesting things. So let's talk a little bit about CTR. And I know we've got all different kinds of folks watching here, but CTR, I mean, we use it to a degree in our agency as well. We do all different kinds of things with it. So you've created a masterful piece of software, essentially working CTR. Why don't you, if you can't, give us what is CTR in your definition, and then and maybe take that and lead into Agency Assassin then.
Well, so the easiest way to say what CTR is it's click-through rate, it's engagement. It's the primary engagement metric, which is time on site or a visitor's actions. Google uses it across their platforms. If you look at time watched on YouTube, and then just click-through rate and bounce rate are your primary metrics in like Search Console. So it's.
Let me ask. So is that based on your opinion, or have you guys done some research that really the engagement is, well, like, I don't know, there's hundreds of flags or in the algorithm, right? But I'm a big believer in engagement and time on site and clicking and bounce rate as an impact. But
Yeah.
Have you seen research on that? Have you guys done some stuff on that?
Well, so there is a lot of research on how effective it is. I mean, we have tons of case studies on its effect. I have a massive amount of data. 2,000 campaigns are running.
Sure.
But let's put it this way. All right, so everything Google does to improve. Google's going to look at dollars produced in ads, and they're going to look at engagement as a way to settle up how their product UX is. So at the end of the day, Google can try to change anything that they want to try to make their products better. How do they know if it worked? And the answers are a very small list of items. And one is ad sales, but is it ad sales at any cost? Or is it ad sales with good UX? And I would argue Google's still highly concerned with UX. They want a user to have an excellent experience. Right. And so it's not just ad sales. So if they make a change to the algorithm, like it's an ad sales, and their UX is negatively impacted, meaning time on site, return visitors, whatever drops at all, like somebody has an unsatisfying experience on their product, I would argue that they will roll that back. And you can see that with numerous changes that were probably good for their product over years that they've rolled back that were not good for SEOs because it probably negatively affected that user experience. And then how would they know if it affected user experience? It's like users. How else would they possibly know except users? And what data do they have on users? Well, the one piece of data that's pretty unequivocal is engagement. And so did they engage? When did they engage? Did they engage again? And Google has all that data. So, it makes a lot of sense that by that I think that my theory overall with CTR is that it's Google's validation metric, meaning they can run 1,000 experiments with 1,000 different parts of their algorithm and get different results. And if those results were meaningful, is using those exit metrics, using engagement. And it makes sense from the standpoint of no matter how good they think their algorithm is, do users agree? Because it doesn't matter how good they think it is if users don't agree. That's my theory behind all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would happen to agree, and it makes really logical sense as well. I mean, considering that UX and user behavior is, a high objective and goal of Google and who it's offering as suggestions in a search. One of the best ways to measure that would be engagement, right? Are people going, does the site get activity? Are people going there? Are they clicking around on the site? Do they hang out on the site or on the page, right?
Oh,
Yes.
right.
So, engagement would happen to be, I would think, would be pretty critical in that. So, go ahead.
Well, and there are experiments that like Holly did. So back in like 2018, Holly was doing experiments where she would run a product. So she would create a product called Los Angeles Personal Injury Attorney, but it'd be a product. And then she would run CTR traffic through Google.com into the products to her product. And Google would go, oh, that's not a local search, that's a product search through engagement metrics. And it would change the map back to a product list. And she would can the top 3 attorneys in the state and instead show a product with her search term on it. And so it's like Google's using like engagement data to morph and shape the behavior and shape the behavior of that Google search based upon, is this a super local search? Is this a product search? Is this a national search? Is this geographically irrelevant? And they look at the engagement. They look at the term, but they also look at engagement to model that for UX, because there's too many searches out there for them to type every search into a correct category. So they let their users determine what the correct type of search is for a product, for a search term.
Right.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I can't even imagine. Holly is like a mad scientist, like even thinking about taking that approach that she did. That is awesome. Hey, Joseph, man, good to have you on board. All right. So at some point, you started getting deep into this. How did Agency Assassin kind of come about then? When did you decide, there's some CTR stuff out there, I'm going to kind of do my thing?
So the product we were using stopped being supported. We were running 40 campaigns in a product that just the developer didn't realize how constantly episodic the breakage of CTR was on Google Maps. So Google changes views constantly. They're coming after data scrapers. They're coming after. They're trying to improve UX. They're at the same time they're trying to break everything they can from the standpoint of making it as hard as possible to grab data off their product. And so it sucks. It's not fun to constantly be reinventing how you're kind of grabbing that data. And so the developer on the product that we were using realized he didn't want to maintain this for the incredibly low monthly that he had going on for it, and ended up calling it off after about a year. And we were really, really dependent on this product. So we had already produced our own backend that was a campaign builder, because this software was not very good at building campaigns. And we already had a UX for that, or a UI for that. And that UI for just like basically outputting CSV files full of locations to run searches and search terms became our framework for Agency Assassin. I realized that we could, while we were running CTRs, we could also grab ranking data and we could give people ranking reports. And so if we're already getting ranking data, we give them ranking reports, and we're able to, the biggest problem with CTR is consistency. It's super important. It's super hard to get it right. And so I was like, well, hey, if we could just consistently run people's CTR, we could give them a report, that'd be a great product. I would buy that. And so, my big idea, rather than doing the piecemeal credit system or something like that, my thought was, no, people care about how much does it cost me to run one campaign for one client. If I give them a good price to do that, and I give them absolutely everything they need to accomplish their goals there, then that's a good product. And I got some pushback here or there, but I think ultimately, it's borne out that is what people care. That's if you're an agency owner, what you care about is I turn this on, I get a result, and then I leave and I come back, it's still working. And that was what we tried to accomplish.
Yeah. I have to tell you, that simple statement, and I know there's some agency guys that are listening as well right now, but that simple statement, if I turn it on and I come and I walk away and then I come back, whether it's later that day or a week from now or whenever, it's still working.
Yeah.
That has high value. I don't know how many pieces of software that I've had and have tried, and I'm like, I come back to it and I'm like, why is it? What happened?
Right.
And then because sometimes, you run this stuff off of a hosted, an offsite host somewhere. And so you're not always logged onto that stuff. And then you come back onto it and like, what the hell? And it's all, gone to whatever. And so, yes. So reliability, I think, is, critical. So, all right. So when did you launch Agency Assassin? When did that go live?
So our first beta version, which was a dangerous piece of software, was May of 2020.
Was that good or bad? Dangerous.
Both. Yeah, it worked. It worked except when it didn't. So it would either work pretty well on positive SEO, or it would annihilate your listing. It was really about 75-25. There's about 50% that didn't do much to. There's about 25% of campaigns that would just get wiped off of Google, and then there's 50-60% that did great, and that was a good enough hit rate for a population of about 20 beta testers, of which about 8 are still subscribed on those original accounts.
Wow.
They do have pricing that I would literally not offer again ever. I had somebody else be like, "Can I get?" No, absolutely not. No, but I do have quite a few of those people. So at the time it was 100 clicks a day, no other setting. So you put in your keywords, and any listing, no matter what that listing is, would get 100 clicks a day, and that is a really large amount of traffic. It's 3,000 clicks a month. That is not, if you're doing stained glass in Tucson, Arizona, there's no 3,000 searches a month.
That would not be advisable. Right?
No, don't do that. Yeah. Yes. So that's when we got started. I would say that we were at that point alpha, with our beta coming the next spring for 2021, when Michael Merlino really helped us out with a big launch. He became my #1 affiliate at that time. And we were really working well for about 3 months. And then we started having problems with, it's just Google's constantly coming after us. We weren't really able to respond to changes in Google algorithm yet. And so I wouldn't say we were out of beta yet. Last summer, we really revamped. We did the new brand, and we came up with a lot of good solutions for Google, just our product working better. And I would say that we pretty much came out of beta last year when we did a rebrand around November, where we've got a really solid product. We've got a brand in place. That's where we really started to grow.
Yeah. Well, I just put the link in the chat for folks to go check it out. But here is the new Agency Assassin. It looks good. I like this.
You want a cool story?
Yeah.
All right. So that brand, I put that into Dolly. I put into Dolly image generation, a brand, like a website for Agency Assassin SEO software. And it didn't have English. I don't know if you've seen where it just does like gibberish letters, but this aesthetic, these exact colors, came out of it my first shot on it. And I handed it to a designer. I had no money at the time. I spent $1,000 on the website. I spent 3 cents on the brand.
Nice.
And I thought it came out pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. It does look great. All right, so here's the whole thing. You got it all. I like you've got how does it affect and all of that stuff. Yeah, so you can schedule a demo, so you can walk people through. Here's your pricing. I'm going to hit you up on the pricing and that just kind of ask you about it. So on a starter, so what does this do exactly? So kind of into your question or your statement in regards to, like, even if it was an agency, they want to run one campaign, um, uh, would
So
a
generally
starter package
speaking,
do that? What am I getting as a starter package? Tell me.
that's 5 campaigns. I'm pretty firm
Okay.
on this one. As soon as I go down to one campaign, I don't have the manpower, and I don't think that most people have the constitution to learn at one
Well,
campaign.
so let me before you go down deep on that.
Yeah.
I don't want you to defend this. Actually, how about a campaign? The starter will do 5 campaigns, so that's great. Describe what a campaign is, I guess.
Yeah. So one campaign is like one Google Maps location. So if you have a Google Maps location, you can run one campaign. It's unlimited number of keywords, and that'll run up to 100 conversion events a day. 85% of those conversions are on mobile, and then the other 15% are residential. Um, yeah. And so you can use one of those campaigns, and one of those campaigns, I have experiments effectively ranking. I ranked a roofing company in July from 10 to 3 for Denver Roofer with one campaign at 10 clicks a day, which would be that'd be easily a $5,000 a month SEO campaign if you sold it and then took a guy to map pack in a major metro over 30 days. So that's obviously with a lot of background and knowledge. One campaign is one Google Maps location. So for $349 a month, you can run 5 of those campaigns, and there's a little bit of nuance. The way to look at CTR is, Google is looking for what's natural. The lowest hanging fruit in campaigns, if you already have a listing that has data, like that one was ranking position 10 for Denver Roofers, it was already a competitive listing. I added 10 clicks on top. That is a cherry on top of a pretty nice looking Sunday. If you're starting with a trash fire and you add 10 clicks a day to a listing that's on page 8, Google's not going to recognize that traffic as valid, and you have to do a lot more groundwork. So getting to know, there's some guides that explain there are a few different ways to engineer this stuff. The biggest thing is how do you make it look realistic? If you're on page 8, 10 clicks a day isn't realistic. 1 might be while it goes up, and you will see a ranking improvement if you're on page 8. You do 1 click a day, right. And it's a slower game. So
yeah. Let me ask you a question before you go further in that. This is good. I have told people this all the time. Where I will talk with people about CTR, and I tell them, listen, you got to be cautious about. You cannot think, oh, well, 2 is good, so like 50 must be great. I'm like, no, you will explode. No, that is not what you want to do. And I love where you just said, like, sometimes even 1 click a day is all you need to take somebody that is not ranking anywhere and move them up. But the other thing that I did want to, so on your site, you've got, and maybe it's in your resources stuff, so you have some guides to help people kind of plan and map and kind of create this stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, inside the software, I have guides. I don't really make all of my really good stuff public, but once you get into the software, there's a guide that's very, very comprehensive, explaining, the biggest. So the thing that I try to if you look statistically at all data across Google, every search term, every single search follows the same thing, which is most people click position 1, 2, or 3 on every search across all of Google and all of existence. So the more low ranking clicks you see, the more likely it's manipulation on a listing. Meaning, if a listing is getting a lot of really unlikely clicks, Google knows that those other clicks are unlikely, and they probably score every one of those as unlikely. And as soon as they see a bunch of them, they're going to stop believing the traffic on that listing. And so, the guide goes into detail on what does a normal traffic curve look like and how do you get it. So if you're engineering traffic, you have to engineer some of your searches to show up at a high position. Brand is one way to do that. You do a branded search. Other higher relevancy searches. You can do experiments where you're just finding a search that ranks you higher with the same target. And so I explain a little bit of that. Like how do you break that out? How do you create more searches that rank higher so you can send more searches that rank lower? Which is really a lot of the game. A lot of the game on CTR is I rank 20. How do I make this look real? And you can engineer that with more higher ranking related searches that are more related to that specific listing. You can do like street that the business is on. That works. You can do phone number. I actually just did street. Somebody man, I wish I could remember who was like, hey, have you tried street? Oh, my business partner on my agency did. And I was like, oh man, this is great. So I'm doing, I've got a campaign where we're doing, MacBook repair Melrose Avenue, because this guy wasn't ranking in the top 20 for MacBook repair. He ranks 4 on Melrose Avenue. And I'm able to send traffic to that MacBook repair Melrose Avenue, which has the exact search entity I want, which is sending positive signal to that search entity, and I'm able to get traffic through. And so it's kind of all about Google has this taste test they're doing on every search that is, or a smell test, whatever.
Right.
Is this real? And so you want to win those enough that they believe your traffic. And that's the
so let me hit you up here. So you've thrown out all kinds of like great knowledge bombs on here, and I hope people that are listening and will re-listen to this really like dive into this, because you are the master at driving this stuff. So you talk about brand. My man Michael Merlino, man, that guy will be just going crazy. Brand, baby, you got to do brand. I mean, he gets all fired up about it. Sending branded traffic. So that it was great to hear you kind of emphasize and support that concept as well. The other thing, and I have a question. So you're talking, like this last one that you mentioned, MacBook repair on, the street address or on Grand Avenue or whatever that is. So you were doing essentially kind of an entity or a key phrase and plus, right? Location or a geographic location. Your geolocation was specifically, the address, but it could be, in Cleveland, in Chicago, in suburb of city. So it could be that even as well, or it could be phone number, right? As well.
Yes.
You probably done tests on phone number.
All that you care about is so you can just run experiments in Google Maps. Search for like anything. You can add another service that the same business does. You're just trying to get higher relevancy so you show up higher in search so you can send traffic. You want as few entities as possible in the search term because you want that entity relationship with your target to be as high as possible. So MacBook repair Melrose Avenue is a super high affinity with MacBook repair. MacBook repair 126 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles, California, blah, 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 is a number of entities. There's Los Angeles, California, all those. And Google will, you can't have the same entity relationships where you have more complex relationships as when you have simpler relationships, just by virtue of the number of components. So what you want is as high of an affinity with your target entity as possible, meaning Melrose Ave, MacBook repair, is very high affinity with MacBook repair. And so I want high relevancy, and I want a small number of entities so that I can have high entity relationship. And then that's where I'm sending traffic to validate MacBook repair if it's positioned at 20. So that traffic is validated.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you then. When you're creating all of these different kind of search terms,
Yeah.
do you have the ability to say, because what you were saying before, you want to send more traffic to the ones that are ranking higher,
Yes.
right? That are in the higher terms, and less traffic to the ones that are lower, but the ability that you can elevate those that are going lower. So when you're doing a campaign in your software, can you say, okay, for these 4, I want to have them get 3 clicks a day, but these 5 down here, only 1 click a day?
So you can hack it right now by adding more keywords. You could add like a keyword like 4 times, and we'll get 4 times more traffic by virtue of doing like 4 times. I don't have so we're about to look at a refactor that's very comprehensive. That'll make our software 10 times better. Like for instance, where you can do a separate search grid per keyword, meaning that if you wanted to do
Mm.
Santa Monica on one search grid and Los Angeles on another to do a macro compare Santa Monica, macro compare Los Angeles. You can split those into 2 separate geographies, which right now you have to run 2 campaigns to do that. So you plan to do that, plus the scheduler on keywords, plus a brand identifier so that we can structure your branded combination terms for you and identify and find those high relevancy searches on our own. It is a big project. I don't know when I have scheduled to get this done. I would right now we're working on SERP ranking. If I can do SERP ranking and get that out, I'm hoping to have that out at this point by December. Just because that would add the entire e-com and affiliate world to our clients. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So no, the answer is you can't do it directly. You can do it by engineering the way that your keywords are listed in the software, and just have a higher occurrence of the ones that you want more traffic on, which does work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does work. It's just not. It's not as granular as what you're asking for.
Got it. Did you just like quickly gloss over a feature that you're beginning and trying to get pushed out, that you're doing beyond maps, that you want to get and do search
Yeah.
rankings?
So
Wow.
yeah. So SERPs is in progress. We
I don't know that did you even talk about this in Vegas? I don't remember ever hearing this.
No. Because I was supposed to have it done in June. So I stopped talking about it after I blew past my first 2 deadlines. We are actually working on components of it right now. So right now we're currently working on. I don't know if you're aware of ProList. Are you aware of that? Do you know what ProList is?
No. What is that?
So ProList is the new Google.com view for maps, and they started rolling it out to their like most spammy niche back in April. So if you do a Google search for almost anything now, and it has a map, it shows a map. That map is no longer Google Maps. If you click on it, the URL will say /local services /ProList. ProList integrates their Google guaranteed, and it is a different model view with different data components. It's very similar. It still uses the same Google Maps CID entities, so it still uses the old Google Maps, libraries, but it shows them differently. And that map ProList is a different algorithm with different considerations, and it has different traffic data. And so we're actually working on splitting search because it's so important. Because a different entry point. So if you go to Google.com, you enter into a different view than Google Maps through Google.com. Unless you click Maps up at the top, you go to ProList. Right. And so for what we're doing, that means there's a split on data. If you're doing CTR right now on Maps, and we're not also doing CTR on ProList, we're creating a huge gap of data that Google can see. And so we're fixing that right now. So we're about a week out from our launch on that, to where you'll be able to split up your search that'll go entry point through Google.com or entry point through Google Maps, so that we can produce more realistic data on Google Maps, because it's our primary product. Once we're done with that, we're going to go into the SERP product wholesale. And we're hoping to launch the Google SERP product with full UI. Like I said, it'd be great if we had it out in November. I don't know. We actually worked pretty quickly through this last one. We just hired new developers. We doubled our development team in July So yeah, so we're the SERP product when it hits will probably become a bigger product than our map product within 6 months. It is a much larger market, and we'll end up with, and we'll probably end up with e-commerce players or Amazon resellers or something like that are just much larger. Yeah, so that Google.com local services pro list, you can't go there and enter a general query. You can't put in like any search term you want. You can only select a category. If you go through Google.com, you can put in a search. Anyways, so we've had to work out how to finagle this thing through ProList to do what we want, and yeah, we pretty much got that figured out.
That is crazy how you could even figure that out, considering how is it even operating, because it's essentially a subset of Google, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the first time I figured it out is somebody was like, hey, this isn't working for my client anymore. He was doing water restoration. It was his entire niche got wiped out by ProList. So he went from getting leads to not getting any leads as soon as they implemented ProList in his vertical. And I was working with the guy, and I was like, what's this? Like going through running searches, clicking stuff. And I was like,
right.
Then I saw the difference in his ranking on maps versus ProList, and it was a big deal. So it was the difference between him having a business and not having a business, which obviously, since this is my bread and butter, mattered to me quite a bit. So yeah. So
it's crazy.
So if you're on maps in a spammy niche and you got whacked brutally, sometime between April and now, well, besides on the review stuff, ProList is probably why, because a lot of those Google.com entries are going somewhere else. They're not going to Google Maps. They're going to ProList. So it's
you're essentially building or have created a solution for that, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, we're in our late stages of development on it. I don't know what our UI is going to look like on it yet, but when we're done, we should be able to launch. You should be able to segment your search between ProList and Maps, so that you're funneling some of the traffic to ProList, so that you're able to create a more varied traffic signal that represents the two different algorithms.
But why would you, if everything is going to ProList anyway, why would you even worry about the other?
So Maps is still the third largest algorithm in the world for searches after YouTube and Google.com. And it still is the third largest. Even though Google.com is filtered to ProList, Maps is still where they originate their data on all those entities and where all those businesses exist. So Maps is not irrelevant. It's just not the entire story. ProList is still only an entry point through Google.com. So if you go to Maps, Google Maps on your phone, it does not use the ProList search function. It's only if you go to Google.com. Yeah, it's only if you go to Google.com and you're in a search and you find the map pack and you click on it. That's where it goes.
So mobile maps is still coming off of the app on your phone. So the maps got it.
I'm too animated. My camera keeps seeing me move my hands, and then it's like, oh, you want me to do stuff?
Oh, you're getting crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I love the idea. So you're expanding, you're addressing this ProList thing, which is great. And then at some point, so what's the idea on search ranking? When do you think you're going to have that feature rolled out?
So if we started development on it today, which we're not, it's probably going to be the end of this week, next week. I think that we'd have UX or UI on it in mid to late October. I'm hoping that we're fully released by around the middle of November on SERPs. As soon as that launches, I'm going to be at every affiliate and e-commerce conference in the world. Because as soon as that launches, there's and those people have the data.
Yeah.
They get a delta on their. They know how much money they're putting in and how much money they're getting out. So if I can give them a campaign on a website and they get a delta, those people will be very happy with me. So that would be our next big move.
Well, that's what just in kind of thinking, about your, I'll say, competitors out there, but a lot of your competitors are doing like multiple kinds of things, right? So they're doing search, they're doing the maps, they're doing all different kinds of things within that referral clicks and what have you. So it's good to see that you're kind of expanding and getting, deeper from that standpoint as well. But I would ask you, so comparatively, do you think, so you started, hey, map ranking, we're gonna beat, do you feel like hands down you guys dominate and are the gold standard for map ranking?
I think for a certain type of user, yes, and that certain type of user is someone who wants to run CTR and Google Maps uh, within the margins of the higher performing campaigns, without having to manage a VPS server or proxies or anything like that. I would say that that's our space, and we're really dominant there. Um, um, Outside of that space, there are other options that people use. I'll name products that I know work well. CTR Booster works well. It takes a lot more engineering, but you can do unique stuff that doesn't make sense for us to do. If you're willing to put in the time and figure out what's working and what's not, that does work. Awesome traffic bot. If you're just driving traffic and you want to just like run traffic to like a Google entity, Epic Traffic Bot and Awesome Traffic Bot both do work. I've seen Christopher Palmer's experiments with both of them. And again, those are simpler products that, like Awesome and Epic. Those are simple products that accomplish a goal very, very well to run traffic. So I do see all those working. The of my competitors that are otherwise like running like hosted services and stuff, I don't think. I mean, without getting in the weeds too far, we solve a lot of really hard technical problems that have to do with like running an enterprise grade, like producing a ranking map for 2,000 different campaigns with low latency is a big data problem. That's way, way, way more sophisticated than if you're solving that problem, you're solving problems that just had to deal with. Which is kind of it's a high cost way to get into something. So I don't think most of our competitors have the appetite to solve database sharding problems to accomplish like low latency report views across millions of reports, which are highly, highly technical. Those are things that suck to take on. So because of that, we'll branch out into more data products probably because we have a data advantage. So I mean, we may do some big data like scraping all of Google Maps or something. Those are things that we might do in the future. But anyway, so I guess the easy answer is in our niche of the reporting and the ranking and all the other stuff. We're pretty dominant right there.
Good. Yeah. We got some time, folks. If you got some questions, man, I love this. Simon Cornelius. I haven't seen that man for a while. Good to have you hanging around. I see Darren finally rolled out of bed. So good morning, Muzzy. Let me ask you. I know we kind of talked a little bit about this early or before we even went live. Do you have some potential slides or some examples maybe you can share with us on just the impact of the software?
I do. Let's we can run through these quick. Yeah.
I'll take this down, and then I think you've got the ability just to switch into share. I don't know exactly how it looks from a guest dashboard. Okay, there you go. Now we got pulling up. All right, it's there. I'm gonna make it live, so hold on a sec.
Okay.
Boom, there it is.
Okay, so these are how Google.
I'm gonna take us off. Well, actually, I'll take me off.
Okay, so this is how Google stops CTR traffic. Daily expected traffic, Google calculates from the history of your listing. They use month-over-month traffic changes Like, so if you have 1 month where you have 100 visits, the next month your trajectory is for 1,000 visits. They automatically do not trust that because that growth curve is not natural. Now, there's a huge caveat on that, which is this is again why branded traffic works. If you were to run a video campaign on local news, you would see a massive increase in traffic, but you'd have a lot of branded search. This is the reason why Michael Merlino's strategies work is a change leader or a leading indicator to Google that traffic patterns are going to change for a business might be branded search due to offline marketing. So these are all different things that you take into account. Expected traffic per keyword. So this is very obvious. If a keyword gets no searches and you send a lot of searches and you're the only one getting searched, that also looks kind of funky. Traffic distribution this is just your traffic curve. Like how highly ranked is your traffic? Is all of your traffic low ranked searches? That's very suspicious. Traffic sources, meaning what proxies are you using, which we solve. So, this is just a graph I stole from the internet, apparently from Systrix. So this is, basically there's saying 60% of traffic of all searches, you could aggregate this out to every search that exists. 60% of all searches across Google or something like it are going to click the 1, 2, or 3 position. And so if your traffic to your Google Maps listing or your website is all coming in at position 40, that's just not likely. So if there's a high volume of unlikely searches, that is a huge way for Google to determine that you're doing that. I ran some experiments, high traffic to low rankings. So, low traffic to low rankings, low traffic to somewhat high rankings, low traffic to very high rankings. These are, this is just, okay, if this is correct, high traffic to low rankings should be a bad thing. Low traffic to low rankings might be a good thing, except which is probably true, but I did low traffic 10 clicks a day. When I did low traffic to low rankings, I needed to do like 2 clicks a day, so it didn't work on this one. Low traffic to somewhat high rankings, low traffic to very high rankings, those should probably work to some degree. And so
I love that slide because I think it hits exactly what you were talking about before. And that I think is fabulous. I got to be sure I grab that slide from the. Is this the deck that you were at Digital Unfiltered? Is this what you use?
Yes.
Yeah, I got to go back to this thing because that I think is gold right there.
So I was sending 50 clicks a day to something that was positioned 100 and actually did come up. The problem is it would disappear for 2 weeks at a time. So Google both ranked it higher, like, oh, this is a signal better than none. But then they said, this is way too much traffic. We're removing you from Google. It would completely disappear for weeks at a time. So I'd hammer it I was sending 50 clicks a day. It'd show up for a day and then disappear. So not a good strategy. Even though the rankings did go up, it still did not work. High traffic, low rankings did not work. So you can see these huge gaps where there's like weeks at a time where they're just not showing up. I actually, on this one, I ended up changing the strategy. And by the end there, I actually do a higher relevancy cluster of keywords that I don't think I'll have time to go over today, but and you can see them actually moving up in rankings. Because I disappeared them from Google and they're some innocent bystander, I decided to rank them higher for, to be a good, good steward of my experiments. Mm-hmm. So this is low traffic to very low rankings. This is 10 clicks a day. And this is where I thought that wouldn't be too much traffic. No, it did not work at all. 10 clicks a day if you're at position 70, way too much traffic. Still not a good thing. And this one is also way up. I got them to 20 for Denver roofers or something like that. Over doing like 3 clicks a day. Now this was somewhat high rankings. This one did okay, but it actually went back down a little bit. It's still better than it started. But I had better performance early on in the campaign. This was some good changes, but it lost the 3.5 to 2 for Denver roofers and these other ones. I probably need to get more nuanced on this one or send more branded traffic. This brand was probably weaker than the other experiment I did that was much stronger. The other brand that I did has a ton more outside advertising. They're getting a ton of traffic from other sources. And that is probably why the campaign worked so well for this next business. So this one, like I said, they do tons of billboards, they do tons of other stuff. They do a huge amount of other marketing. When I started sending 10 clicks a day to this business that had a more varied strategy, it was stratospheric. We got Map Pack for Denver roofers in 30 days. They kept it. They're still there.
And let me ask you a question. So when you said 10 clicks a day, that's really is distribute a month, 10 clicks a month?
No, that is 10 clicks a day. That's 300 clicks a
Yeah.
month.
But that's distributed across multiple keywords and phrases.
Yeah, these
right?
4 keywords. So 2 to 3 clicks a day on these 4 terms that were already ranking. So here's the thing: this listing already ranked. They had offline strategies that are guaranteed to get them branded traffic and a lot of different varied traffic sources that were already incoming to that property, regardless of what I did. And so they were. This was the strongest marketer in general with the widest footprint in general, meaning I had the most cover for my strategy, and it was the most effective. This is really how this works. If you have cover, if you have already existing traffic, if you have a lot of the different dimensions of like a successful marketing campaign with good signal, CTR is very easy because there's a precedence for everything that you're doing. They already had traffic on all 4 of these keywords, I guarantee it. And so they had a history of traffic. Everything that I needed was there. When I just sent a little bit more traffic, it was just the signal that it needed. They are still, this is a 81 square miles in the heart of some of the most populated areas of Denver. They got Map Pack for multiple terms. And they remain ranking that way. So that is a very, very good looking map for Denver roofers.
No kidding.
So now I'm just going to go into this really quick. So this is another way I got relevancy. Now this was for a listing that it's an exact match service area business. So I couldn't do branded search with the name of the business. I did some misspelled searches in here that actually didn't work. The reason why is because I was saying before, too high of traffic for a keyword with no traffic. Electrical, that entity, electrical, misspelling electrical, was very sensitive to traffic at all. And so so I was doing 10 clicks a day across all these terms, meaning it's only getting 1 to 2 clicks per day. That was a negative signal for that misspelled term because it was so unlikely for people to search it. So I actually ended up removing the electrical terms that I thought maybe would work as misspellings. Those misspellings were a negative factor on those terms. Usually those negative factors, term specific, cross over on the entity, meaning the entity relationship between the misspelled term and the real term was probably a negative factor. So I removed those 2 searches. So what you see though is, so I changed the keywords. I just did correct spellings. I did phone number, and then I did GPS coordinates on the place URL. So I clicked the place URL for the Google service area business, and I just grabbed the geo coordinates, which are right in the URL, and I stripped it of the comma, and I threw it in the search term. And when I did that, the term ranked, you can see down here, 7, down here, 7 with the geo. It ranked 22 without the geo for my target term. And so this is dramatically higher for with the entity. It's just the entity plus a geo, so it's still high affinity to my target term.
Right.
And what's interesting is, let me show you these 2 charts. This is the geo, and then this is my target term. And you can actually see over the same time series, you see my manipulated search with the geo and the entity stepping up, and then the target term steps up in the same period of time. In that same period of time. And so, the related term, so this is high relevancy related entities, definitely correlated. That's what I think. And so, this was a result for one of the other terms. Again, now this one again has cover. This already ranked high for St. Catherine's Electrical. So there's a precedence for St. Catherine's Electrical Company. There's a precedence for electrical company St. Catherine's that this business already ranked position 1 for St. Catherine's Electrical. Again, I had cover. You see that with that other roofing campaign. Right. I had branded search as cover. I had history as cover. This one has high ranking search on a related term for cover. Right. All these things help dramatically. So I show you these really high performing campaigns. These do not exist in a vacuum. There's other factors that play for why these work so well.
So that really gives proof or evidence to the issue around branded traffic, because if you're doing some branded traffic, then that's going to drive activity then on the site for the brand, which is going to rank the brand term higher, and which gives you the ability then to do some of this other kind of fun stuff that you're showing here.
Yeah, which again, I mean, like the name of the game, was saying was signal width. What is your diversity of different factors? Do
Right.
do 10 types of. I mean, this is why you should do press releases for sure if you're doing Google
Right.
Maps. Why send a wider signal? If
Yeah.
CTR on its own isn't working, do a press release. Why? To add trust factors to that traffic. And there are we should actually do some experiments because I can almost guarantee that adding your news articles to a campaign doing CTR will work much better. I can tell you reviews, people who are getting reviews and they're
Yeah.
doing CTR, it is 10 times more effective. Well, I don't know. It's dramatically more effective than CTR on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just having a conversation with somebody earlier this weekend, even that was, lamenting about, man, our reviews are dropping. Like we're like just Google's just dropping reviews, pulling reviews. They're doing reviews, but only maybe 50% of them stick or go up even. Yeah, reviews is just a mess right now.
It is. It is. Yes. So that's that presentation. Yep.
That's good stuff, man.
Darren asks, over the month to month, do you think seasonal tracking as well? I don't think that they look at year over year specifically. I think that they look at your trends. So they look at like local changes overall. They look at what is they're every month. So when you see your keyword data change in your GPB, you'll see campaigns readjust. So when they reassess all of your GPB metrics for the previous month for search history, then all of a sudden the factors on how much anticipated traffic seem to change at the same time. And that's just each month. So probably as seasonal data changes over a month across a search term, that would be accounted for by the next month. So just by the way that I see the algorithms work. I don't like, because of the way that because of the data problems Google has, I don't see them looking at your previous month's, data or the previous year's data necessarily. They're just going to use whatever their running averages are, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't know the answer for sure. But I don't think that it makes sense from a data cost standpoint for them to try to solve that. I think that for Google, it'd be better just to have a very responsive algorithm that would respond to seasonal changes rather than to anticipate them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good response. All right, man. I'm trying to think. I don't know if we have any other questions. We're probably down to the last couple of minutes here. Anything, Eean, you wanted to share we didn't get to? Any other knowledge bombs?
No. I'll do a discount code for your watchers. If somebody wants to sign up. Yeah, so I'll do a 38 digital market. I don't have it up yet. I will get you. I'll get a code up. So coupon code. So if you sign up with the coupon code 38 digital market, I'll give you 15% off of the software. I will make that good until 1 week from now, which will be the 12th of September.
Boom! I'm going to do that.
Awesome. Yeah. So if anybody signs up, please sign up. There are some resources, some video resources in the CDR guide. Watch the video resources, read the guide. If you sign up and you get your campaign set up, I will give you 30 minutes of my time once those are set up, and I'll review your campaign. I just would like for you to do the legwork first, and then I'll work with you on your campaigns and show you some best practices that I've seen. And I should be getting a lot more of those live.
Dude, I'm putting it up right there for you.
Yeah.
Coupon code 38 digital market. Nice.
Yeah, and then the sign up for that is well, actually you can click through this on the website. That's fine. That's not
all right. Yeah, there it is. And then here is the site as well. Bam. Nice job. All right, my man. I've yet to decide whether I'm going to go to Boston for Rockstar. So maybe I will see you. Maybe I won't in October. Are you doing? There's another one in Dallas. I'm doing going to Holly's conference in Dallas. The Dark AI. Are you landing for that?
You know when that is?
I want to say it's like December 8th through the 11th, I think.
Maybe I'm in Florida with my kid at Disney World, right? On the 13th.
Nice.
Yes, we'll see. We'll see. I will check that out. I haven't been to one of Holly's in a while, and I should definitely support her. I think I missed your last 4.
Yeah, that is the date, 8th through the 11th. So
okay, yeah. My last conference of hers I went to was Kansas during the pandemic. I was out with her, so yeah. Well, I got to get out there and support her. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun, even for
Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate this.
Dude, I appreciate you being on, dropping some great stuff, and thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get you back on again at some point. All right, brother?
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, see ya. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care, bud. Bye.